Well, we've talked about the Fourth Amendment, the myriad of type acceptance for radios and licenses on the FCC, how they do their business within the government. And hey, we're just going hard thanks to a lot of web traffic I'm getting on my YouTube channel. The First Amendment, why not? Let's just dive in. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free existence thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech. This is what we're really focusing on, or the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So that last part, or abridging the freedom of speech, right? So Civics 101, because I feel like after looking at some of these comments, I don't know that we went to the same civics classes growing up as kids, but the Bill of Rights is to restrict what the government, at least in the United States, can do against our civil rights. I hope we're all under the same page there. So it's saying the government isn't going to abridge the freedom of speech, meaning your ability to talk with the parts of your body, the bits you got, in a space, right? Now, we know that this is not an unlimited freedom. There are numerous cases, and you can literally go to Constitution annotated, and you can just go through the examples of case laws and all kinds of different things to show that it is not an unlimited freedom. But it comes up a lot in the form of comments that I get on my YouTube channel. Here's a question I have in the first place. Why in the F are we people required to have a license on a First Amendment right in the first place? Who made that rule? Ham Nazis and the NSA and the FCC puppets can pound sand. Wow, very angry. And to me, it's always come down to your speech is protected in many and most situations, but the conveyance of your speech may not be protected, right? There's only so much land in the form of frequencies, the electromagnetic spectrum, that we can have people utilize them. And obviously, on any one frequency, if one person is using it, in most situations, someone else is not going to be able to use it. They're going to be jammed, or there's going to be someone in the proverbial parking lot of RF space where there is a car in that parking spot using that frequency, and so they can't use it. Now, Josh, you're thinking, well, yeah, but there's tons of frequencies. Why can't people just go to another vacant frequency and use them? And that's a real thing, but unfortunately, all that space is used up. There's literally a PDF you can download. I'll drop the link in the video description that you can find the FCC online table frequency allocations. And this goes through literally almost all the frequencies they have, and they give primary and secondary users. And what's that? International. Well, what does that mean? Well, I think the IARU said it best, the International Amateur Radio Union. And what are they? Well, guess what? They help coordinate the amateur radio frequencies. And there's also a group called the ITU that look at radio frequencies and their usage at the worldwide international level. And they have to, which I think is pretty well said by the ITU. The radio spectrum is a priceless natural resource, meaning belongs to the people. Because radio waves do not respect borders, the use of the spectrum must be regulated internationally. I communicate on a radio that can talk across the world in some cases, but I got some pretty big power, 1,500 watts, that I could drop behind my antenna and shoot my RF pretty far out. This is accomplished through the International Telecommunications Union, the ITU, as I mentioned, a specialized agency of the United Nations. Oh no, the New World Order is coming for your frequencies. Through World Radio Communication conferences held approximately every 4 years, the ITU revises the international radio regulations, which have the force and effect of a treaty, meaning all these international countries agree to use these frequency spaces in the form of amateur radio in the same way. But guess what? It goes into lots of different other services because AM broadcast stations can also go fully international. Shortwave stations can go fully international. And for just the ease of selling products, if we align frequency sets for FRS radios and GMRS radios, and all countries kind of say, yeah, we'll use the same bands, that means a business can make a radio and market it to many different ITU regions and sell it so long as they meet the standards of those individual groups. But they don't have to develop a brand new radio to be able to sell it there, right? I hope that makes sense. We have to have an international alliance, if you will, a cooperation to be able to utilize these frequencies appropriately. But then to go back to my comments here, I will never buy a license to use my First Amendment freedom of speech on my ham radio. Well, is it truly your First Amendment right that's being infringed by having to get a license? Remember, you can say whatever you want in almost any situation, and certainly in your own home, but you're not allowed the means to do it. We can all walk around publicly on the streets, but if we want to get behind a vehicle and drive it, we often need a license because that is a privilege. That's a privilege to access something that's public spaces or a public entity or a public utility to be able to drive around on, right? Or have the conveyance to do whatever it is you need to do. So you have to have a privilege, you have to have a license to show that you're allowed to use that. A car, for instance, with a driver's license. Radio's no different. If you want the privileges afforded therein, you oftentimes need to pay some kind of a fee or get a license. But to all my burgeoning landboat captains, don't worry, the FCC has your back, and so do international agreements in treaty form among other countries. You got services like FRS, right? What is it for? Two-way, short-distance voice communications and data communications. Cool. Facilitating family and group activities. Not enough for you? Go to the next one. CB. You guys know about CB. CB's been around forever, right? It's a private, two-way, short-distance voice communication service for personal or business activities of the general public. Why are those license-free, yet amateur radio remains to be licensed? Well, it's pretty simple. You're not going to really interfere with many other people when you have my Don't Tread on Me pink Tari Panda FRS radio or a handheld CB radio. If you leave the radios in their configuration for type acceptance when sold, they're only going to put out 4 watts in the case of CB, less than a handheld, but like a mobile station, and like less than a watt or maybe a watt on an FRS radio. So your chance of interfering with somebody is much reduced. That's why they can go license free. But on amateur radio side, then you're going to have your own problems there. My radio is going to be 1,500 watts, and that's something I could create a lot of interference, and that's why I took a test to get my license so that I knew, particularly among all the other things, there's a safe way to do things and a way to not interfere with your fellow users because I don't want to infringe on their privileges to access the space. Just like you take a driver's test so you don't go careening into other people, or at least hope not. We, the people, generally cry for these kind of tests and trainings and all those other things that go into it because it's the bare minimum we can do to try and get a good outcome to meet the standards. Now, what are those standards? Well, we've talked about it in the past. 97.1 Subpart A is the general provisions of the amateur radio license, and it's in 5 parts. That's our United States FCC. Your own country is going to have their own version of it, but it's going to be pretty similar. And there's really a couple of them here that tie into kind of First Amendment rights and that kind of stuff. But I'm going to go through all of them because if you haven't seen this, it's worth a read and a listen in your case. I guess a watch too. A, recognition and enhancement of the value of the amateur radio service to the public as a voluntary, non-commercial communication service, particularly with respect to providing emergency communications. So there's a good service aspect of it, emergency communications. And that's kind of how I know a lot of people have found interest in this, in the emergency communications area, a lot of preparedness-minded people. And I think that the Venn diagram of preppers also has a little tiny niche there for sovereign citizens and the people, like I mentioned, the landboat captains and all that stuff that are just traveling on the public roadways. So obviously this video is not for you because you already have the mindset that just because it exists, you think you can use it for free. But that is just not the case. It's a public good. You have to show that you're worthy to be a part of that and have the privileges therefore. And that's what these radio licenses do. Part B, continuation and extension of the amateur's proven ability to contribute to the advancement of the radio art. Well, if you don't have a license test, how do you know that someone's not even treading water with the ability to continue and extend an amateur's proven ability to contribute to the advancement of the radio art? If we don't have a license test and we don't have some kind of a novel way to get people to continue to grow into the hobby, meaning technician, general, and extra, some way to urge them to continue to grow as an operator, and to extend the radio service that we so much enjoy, then, what's the point? You know what I mean? C, encouragement and improvement of the amateur service through rules which provide for advancing skills in both the communication and technical phases of the art. So it's not only a radio frequency service, it's a privilege, and now it's an art. But what is the encourage improvement of the amateur radio service through rules? Interesting. So it's setting up the boundaries of the sandbox that we play in. Yes, we can have 1,500 watts at our disposal in a lot of cases, but we have to do it within a certain set of rules, and those rules are defined here within Part 97. D, expansion of the existing reservoir within the amateur radio service of trained operators, technicians, and electronic experts. Well, from my point of view, D to me is why so many countries like amateur radio and encourage its growth, and why many people should encourage its growth. It's literally built as like a free self-taught training in the area of radio operation and radio sciences and the radio arts. And this one, D, item D here, is I think the paramount one that I most like, and I really push to continue to grow the amateur radio service because this means so much to me. And if we can't all at least pass this first level of test as a technician, then the reality is you might not be the type of person that would expand the existing reservoir of the service as a trained operator, technician, or electronics expert. If you simply want to talk to somebody and use it for off-roading, then get your GMRS license. I have my GMRS license. I use it as a tool. I use it as an appliance that I operate. And there's nothing wrong with that. But maybe you should acknowledge that this service, the amateur radio service, is not for you. Those are privileges that really you don't need because you're not willing to do these 5 things. And last but not least, E, continuation and extension of the amateur's unique ability to enhance international goodwill. Well, shoot, if I can't be reasonable enough to not spout off crazily on the air on my radio that can do 1,500 watts, potentially create a rude situation in an international type of conversation, then maybe I shouldn't participate in this type of radio service where you are given a ton of privileges. You're within your rules of the privilege with an amateur radio license using 1,500 watts of power. Some of you come back and say, we can do that with CB. You're not doing that with 4 watts. You've got a modified radio that's not type accepted for your service. You've already violated your service and the intention of that. Am I mad about it? No, I don't care. I don't care one iota. But that's something to keep in mind. The way it's written, take it for what it says. And this is pretty clear to me. And while I will continue to get these kind of replies, the U.S. Bill of Rights gives me the First Amendment freedom of speech to talk on a radio without a license and permit from the FCC and politicians. It's truly just a lack of nuance and ignorance on the part of the commenters. And I don't mean this to be offensive. And I really do like that he has a Napoleon avatar. I just noticed that. But the point, as always, is your speech is not being infringed just because you can't pick up a ham radio and talk on it. You're not guaranteed the medium. You're not guaranteed the access. You are not allowed to be in the parking space for amateur radio. If you want to do that, go get your license. It's a privilege. It's not a right. Just like driving is a privilege, not a right. So I'm not a legal or constitutional scholar. These are just things that I learned when I was a kid. I hope you all did too. As well, an extension of that as I read more and learned more about amateur radio and just more about the human world we live in. So I find it interesting when we see something as a privilege, access to the amateur radio frequencies. A lot of people want to take that next step, and I want that free right. I'm going to call out my rights and think that you can get something for free, even though you haven't qualified yourself as being somebody that needs to be a part of the service. Again, there are services that you can explore, and I highly recommend you do, because maybe, once you really, truly experience the wonder that is the Don't Tread on Me Pink Tari Panda FRS radio, and you enjoy that with your prepper brothers and your airsofters and all those other groups out there, then you might see the value in radio, and you might actually want to get access to much more powerful privileges that will allow you to talk way further with more power, but that comes with the knowledge of doing it safely. And the bare minimum that we ask is that you pass a test, an easy test. If you want to know how to pass that test super easy, Go check out the links in the video descriptions, hamstudy.org, as well as some of my favorite books, Gordon West Ham Radio Test Prep books, and the Fast Track to Your Ham Radio series that are on Audible. All this stuff is on Amazon. You can get it. There's apps to download, free website, hamstudy.org. Highly recommended. And again, it's not painful. You don't go into some kind of database. I mean, you do, but don't worry. Every other piece of information you have under your name is what a government, they, are going to use to come find you way before they look at your amateur radio access, your service, your call sign, etc. So, hey, join us out there. Calm down a little bit with the rhetoric. See where we're coming from. And if I was wrong, hey, I want to talk with you, but let's do it respectfully, okay? Comment below. I'm Josh KI6NAZ 73.